Well, hello and welcome to 2030 and Beyond with me, Sandi Adams. Now, today I've got a really, really wonderful guest from Ickonic, and it's Richard Willett, who's joining me today. And it's really great to have you, Richard. I haven't seen you for quite a while. Hello and welcome.
Hello. It's nice to see you doing your own show and supporting everything you do. So it's lovely to be here and to get to speak to you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the last time, it was a long time ago, I came to Derby, and it was during COVID, if I remember rightly. Yeah, interesting times that, wasn't it? But yeah, it's been a while, but it's we've always kept up a bit of a communication and supported each other, which is great. So you've got a new book out, haven't you, called I Am Immortal? And I haven't read it yet because obviously it's not properly out yet, or it's only been out for a few days. But looking at it, it looks absolutely fascinating because it's the kind of stuff that I've been really having a bit of a not obviously as big a deeper dive as you, but it's coming into my radar because actually it's about the fact that we're in a death cult, and we're seeing this with everything, whether it's net zero because of CO2 as a gas of life. They want us dead, don't they? They want us dead and transformed into cyborgs. You tell me about it. What's it all about?
Yeah, the book's called I'm Immortal. It's a death cult's quest for immortality. So what it does is it looks at the kind of oxymoron of this death cult wanting to live forever through transhumanism. And then it brings in the messianic religious ideology that's driving that, or at least they're weaponizing that, especially with the three Abrahamic religions and playing them off against each other. So it gives context to why they would want a transhumanist body, why they would want what they call a Kelly-Potic shell, or a homunculus, or a Rosemary's Baby, or a moon child. They're all the same thing. There's the world of shells that they want the body to, that's what they believe, by the way, to exist in, to go forward, to live a long time. You had Putin just saying 2 days ago that he wants to live to 150, and now there's they're doing like experiments on life longevity. So this is a thing that goes through a cult called Chabad Lubavitch. They're a messianic sect of Judaism. I would say they were a cult. I think it's fair to say that at the very top levels there's a cult-like ideology, and it all comes down to playing out these end times biblical narratives and ending up with a world of transhumanist beings where me and you would not exist, at least definitely not as we are today. So the old human would cease to exist. And this is where we talked about, discussed it briefly yesterday when we were preparing for the show, the rainbow comes in and all of that symbology. Yeah. So it's all tied in there in the book. The book is out. It's been out about a week and a half now. And I've already got the religious zealots trolling me because they're not happy about it, which is a good sign because... Yeah. Actually, when I'm in the book, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be part of any of these religions. I'm actually not having a go at the religions. What I'm saying is that you're all being used against each other by a cult that has infiltrated all three of these Abrahamic religions, and they're using you against each other. So it pushes a lot of buttons in the religious context. But actually, I'm trying to say to you that you guys are being used by a cult that are pretending to be of your religion, and they're not really.
Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing a really awful video of Noah Yuval Harari, saying that in the future there will be nothing biological on this planet. And that seems to be their aim, isn't it? To get rid of biological humans, biological everything. And he said that it will be a non-organic planet where everything will be literally... I mean, this is madness, isn't it? It sounds like madness, but also you've got this whole thing with who is this cult? Are they the Jews that aren't really Jews? Are they the Ashkenaz, the ones that came from the Caucasus that pretend to be Jews? Who are they? Who is Chabad Lubavitch? What is this cult? because I've heard about Chabad Lubavitch, and I know that they're really into the Noahide laws. They're pushing those, and again, that's a rainbow thing, isn't it? Their symbol is the rainbow, because they say that came from Noah. And that's a biblical thing. So tell me about Chabad Lubavitch and how they actually gained this power.
So Chabad Lubavitch are just one of the sects that they kind of infiltrate and work within. They're the most prominent ones, I would say. They're working out of Brooklyn now. At the moment, that's their headquarters. They're the guys that got caught digging tunnels about 2 years ago underneath their headquarters.
Oh, that was horrible.
It was, and there's an infighting going on there. So this is a guy called Rabbi Schneerson, who was the 7th rabbi. Now, 7 is an important number for completion, so he's the last rabbi. But they are just one sect. They follow the Lurianic Kabbalah, and they're just one sect of this. These Sabbatean Frankists infiltrate all areas. So they're in the Jesuits, they're in the Christian Catholic Church, the Protestant Church. They'll go into big tech, big pharma. It's the Sabbateans go in and sabotage from within, so think of them like a virus, but also they act with satanic intent, so they invert everything that the original concept or corporation, company, religion, whatever it might be, self-development sect, were about. It might be an intelligence agency. They invert everything because that's the way they work. So there isn't one or the other. It's a behavioural belief system within all of them. So think of them as kind of like sleeper cells or spy agents within many sectors of society. You've obviously got the Freemasons, that edge as well. And you can tell by their fruits. They all want to push this New World Order attempt. They all push a transhumanist agenda. They always push a messianic agenda. And they all want to bring about Olam Haba is the Jewish version of it. It will be the New World Order, the golden age of Saturn. And they want to build a third temple on Jerusalem and welcome in the end times. They're following that plan. So you can tell them by their fruits, but they're not just one group, and they don't just function out of one group. They function within all areas of society. And you can see them by their agenda and what they fit into, how they are, because they want you to blame the Jewish faith. They want you to blame the Islamic faith. They want you to blame the Christian faith, and any denomination of which they just don't want you to go, hang on a minute, you're actually doing the inversion of what your faith tells us. They tell you in the Jewish faith not to force God's hand, that these things will come about naturally. So those mostly of the Jewish faith can't stand this way of being, this Zionist, which is just the political front of it, this Zionist Lurianic Kabbalah pushing of the end times, evangelical, because it goes against what they actually believe. Is yes, they believe these things might happen or would happen, but they would be natural. But they can see, those of the genuine of these faiths can see that this is nothing natural about this at all.
So what's Lurianic faith? What's that? What's that? What does Lurianic mean?
So this is Isaac Luria. He was a Kabbalist, and he basically had a different modification of what the Kabbalah was. So there's the Q Kabbalah, there's the C Kabbalah, and the K Kabbalah. He took the K Kabbalah and he kind of created his own kind of mythology around it, his system around it, which is kind of inverted, really. And that was picked up by Sabbatai Zevi and then later Jacob Frank. Oh. So that's their belief system. Yep. And they base it on Lurianic Kabbalah, because the Kabbalah in of itself is a spiritual tool. And then you get the Christian Kabbalah, which is with the C, and then you get the Q Kabbalah as well. So it depends. They have different versions. It's supposed to be chaotic. You're not supposed to know what's going on, and they're making it up as they go along as well, because there is no foundation. The whole point is that it is nonsense, so it can be added to. The whole point is, the trick is to sell it as prophecy, as written, as God's word, when it's just people using things,
clouding it in what they this false secrecy. It's almost like, we are the ones that know, you don't know, because it's all kept secret. It's a bit like, they do that in Freemasonry. Is Freemasonry all tied up with this?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They're Kabbalists in Freemasonry, and obviously they reenact the Solomon's Temple stuff all the time. So that absolutely. But not all of them will be in on it. Not all of them will be Sabbatean Frankists. Not all of them will know about how they're being used in that system as well. So yes, the Freemasons are definitely involved, but only a small faction again. again, you can't just go in there and go, all of you guys. It really depends on the individual, and only the individuals that are worth anything to this system will rise to the very top levels of these, like the Freemasonic lodges and some of the occult lodges. So yeah, they're absolutely involved, whether they know it or not.
So they believe that the third temple, when the third temple is built, that's when what will happen then? I mean, because I did a big deep dive into the whole thing with Alice Bailey and the United Nations, and she was almost saying that the because all of her teachings got taken up by the United Nations, like all her books are in the library there, and if you look at it, she spoke a lot about 2025 to 2030, when she, in her view, when she wrote the externalization of the hierarchy, she said that Christ will come back, but it's not Christ, it's Lucifer she's talking about, apparently. So it's all it's so involved, and the United Nations seem to be following her whole 10-point plan, apparently, which has been denied. It's a bit like the protocols of the Elders of Zion were denied. But what's unfolding in front of us is exactly what Alice Bailey spoke about, and also the protocols of the Elders of Zion. So how do we unpack all that?
A good example of that is that they all mean the same thing. So Lucifer was known as the morning star, which is Venus. Jesus was known as the Brighton morning star, Venus.
Right. Yeah.
They're not the same person. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying they even existed as people. I don't believe these things have to be real and literal. What I see them as is the polar opposites of the same individual. So you could see it as someone's dark side and light side, shadow self and outward self. So Jesus would be the Christ kind of good version, the lighter side, and obviously Lucifer would be the darker side. Then you take the satanic inversion of that and you flip it round. Lucifer becomes the good guy, Jesus becomes the bad guy. But then you take the other flip, which is why it's all so twisted, is that good becomes evil and evil becomes good. So everything is twisted up, like the Caduceus. It's the whole point, is that it's not supposed to make sense. It's supposed to keep you guessing. That's the magic trick behind it all. So she was telling you the truth of what she knew, and of course she was. But the whole point is that there's nothing to grasp onto, like in a narcissistic relationship with someone. The whole point is the fog of war, the confusion. The trick is the mirage of it all. You're trying to find some grounding, some foot level in all of this madness, like when you look into the conspiracies. But actually, what you're doing is all shaky ground because it's all nonsense. So it's supposed to keep you dysregulated and off kilter. So the whole point in it is that you are off kilter and you are not able to grasp a truth because there is nothing there. There is no truth there. The magic is in the power of suggestion to get you to do what they want you to do. So therefore you are vulnerable. Like a classic example of this sort of trick, and this is a very logical trick. This is practical magic, they call it. With Donald Trump's alleged assassination a few days ago again, who was standing beside him? It was Oz Perlman. He's a mentalist. He's a magician. He was there to be forming a trick at that time to distract the individuals at the table. So when that happened, they were open to suggestion at that moment. Now, whether he knew it or not, I'm suggesting he did because of his Israeli background, and he's basically Uri Geller Mark II. But the whole point was to cause confusion at that moment. So people see this, and I go into this in the book, as a magical out there power, and it's not. This is practical psychology used writ large across a global scale. Alchemy is psychology. It's polarities. It's changing your base information, your base level feelings into something else. It's all alchemy, but it's all practical. These people understand how human psychology works and the practical magic of reality in terms of cause and effect. That's all it is. And they've wrapped it up in this magical, I've got special powers stuff, comes into my group and I will teach you how, when it's just trickery and sleight of hand.
So it's like smoke and mirrors, isn't it? They're like,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Smoke and mirrors, and just trying to make something far more mystical than it really is. Yeah. I've noticed that, to be honest, with living in the most awful place. I say that, but it's been a real education living here in Glastonbury, because it's full of trickery and new age nonsense that, I mean, I'll probably get told off about this if anybody that is watching from Glastonbury. But the fact is that I've seen it since I moved here it really is. It's trickery. There's a lot of trickery going on, and and vulnerable people getting sucked in. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to get across in the book, Sandy, is that I don't believe this stuff. This is a death cult ideology, belief system. And we've allowed these people, because we've fallen for the trick on a global scale, to the point now where 20,000 children could be killed because of this nonsense in Gaza, and 165 children can be bombed in an Iranian elementary school. And that's just looked over. And we're still going to praise the guy who funded it, Donald Trump, though that we're not us, but these people are, because it's a death cult. They can't see the trick that they're under, the mind control that they're under. But I want to point out in the book is this very practical. They're not superhuman beings. There's nothing magical about this at all. And the great thing about that is that once you learn the magician's trick, you don't fall for it anymore. You can choose to fall for it, which is cognitive dissonance, but you no longer fall for it. These are not all powerful beings. These are idiots using very old sleight of hand tricks, psychological tricks that we can all learn. So this information, this stuff that came down from the mystery schools and the magi, all that was the ability to get people to do things that you want them to do without them knowing that they're doing it. And usually in today's case, it's malevolent and against your better judgment. It's to your detriment. That's all it is. So when you get the Magi the Magi went and saw Jesus in the stable. It's not a real story. They're telling you he's passing the information on down through a guy who would be the next version of the Magi, and probably trying to turn that information to be used for good from evil. So the magic tricks were even there with the Jesus character. He was turning water into wine and bread into... This is just storytelling about a Magi, a magician. But it's not a real person, in my opinion. It's an archetype. And so I go into archetypes in the book. Yahweh, Yaldabaoth, Kronos, Saturn. They're all the archetype of the bad daddy that you want to please. And I'm getting some kickback from the religious guys at the moment saying Yahweh is not the same. No, not the same as... He's not the same person as the Gnostic Yaldabaoth. The Gnostics were written hundreds of years after that, or 100 years after the Christian text. Well, no, actually, what was written about them was written by their enemies, the Christians. So we only really know what their enemies were telling us about them. But these aren't real people. The Yahweh and Yaldabaoth, in my opinion, they are archetypes. So it doesn't matter. It's the big bad daddy. It's the scary death daddy. And this cult are scared of that archetype. That's why they are a death cult who want to live forever, because they don't want to face the big bad daddy. You can call it Kronos, Yahweh, Yaldabaoth. You can call it the guy from the Matrix. You can call it any evil overlord character, male usually, in the Hollywood films. It's an archetype. Christ consciousness is an archetype. And it taps into something in us. So that's what people are getting. What they're doing, Sandy, is they're taking something that's emotional, trickery, and bringing it down into the material world so they can move it around, which is basically the reverse of the Kabbalah, down the tree of life, to the roots, to the tree of death. And this cult want to turn the roots from the tree of life upside down, so the roots of the tree of death, the black tree, are pointing upwards, which is what Stranger Things is all about. So they don't realise that this is all trickery. This is all inversion trickery, all of it.
In a very interesting concept you have there about, sort of really, what do you think? What is the human then? What if you don't believe in a god or a benevolent god? Where did we come from, and what is our purpose, in that respect? Because most religions believe that you are made in the image of God, and that God is benevolent, and that God is good, and each one has a almost like a common thread that the creator is there. So what do you? I mean, do you have beliefs of your own?
No, that's exact. I do believe that. I don't believe in a religion.
Yeah.
I believe in this.
Okay.
This is an accident. I believe in an creative intelligence that's clearly created this place for us. And I think the reason why we're
Yeah.
here has been hidden from us. I do think that. This place isn't an accident. I don't feel like I'm trapped here. I do believe
No.
that this is a good place to
Yeah.
be and people are lovely. And I do believe in a like intelligence. Absolutely, I do. I do believe that.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
represented in all of us. I just don't believe in a religious archetype or religious label or personified deity of that person who usually ends up being the inversion of it, an horrible art, quite frankly. I believe that we are absolutely made in the image of this creator and we are part of that creation. So yes, absolutely, I do believe in a God. I don't
Yeah.
believe, but
Yeah.
I don't believe in a religious take on it. No, absolutely I don't, because it seems to
Okay.
be that the
Interesting.
outcome of the religious takes on it has the reverse effect of what I would have thought a benevolent, loving creator would be. So I do believe in a creator, absolutely, and an intelligence more. I would probably be a better term for it.
Yeah. Yeah. An intelligent creator. Yes.
I'm sure a lot of you know about magnesium.
For all your anti-Big Pharma needs, look no further than clivedecarl.com.
I had rheumatoid arthritis so badly I couldn't walk or get dressed.
He sells a fantastic range of top quality supplements.
Worked out that magnesium dissolves calcium, and I haven't had any arthritic problems in over 40 years.
Getting back to the cabal that want to take over the world. Tell us where you feel that did it start with the destruction of the first temple? First it was the Babylonians, wasn't it? Destroyed the temple, and then it was the Romans. And now they think that they're going to rebuild the temple where the Dome of the Rock now stands. And we had all this nonsense with heifers, some prophecy about red heifers. Tell us all about that.
So we'll go back to the first bit. So I don't believe there ever was a first temple or a second temple. There's no physical evidence of either. There's the Wailing Wall, which is it. Most people would say who've done the research a lot. There's no evidence it was the surrounding walls of a temple. It looks like an old Roman fort. So I don't believe there was a first or second temple. There's a lot of evidence to suggest, if you look really good books called The Bible Unearthed, and it suggests very strongly that the King Joshua at the time, or Josiah, King Josiah at the time, used a lot of old mythologies, pagan mythologies, old Egyptian mythologies, and local stories to create what became the Old Testament, to try and unite the kingdoms of Judah and the kingdom of Israel along to rebuild a temple. So he had to backdate a story like that to say there was a temple, and they did go into Egypt and they did go Moses and all this. There's no evidence any of that ever happened. It appears to be that he wrote that story to try and galvanize the kingdom back together to create the temple. So it's almost like Back to the Future. You're rewriting your past to affect the present, which will affect the future. So that's what I believe happened there. So there's no real literal story in it. That's why you can find the flood of Gilgamesh is clearly the flood of Noah, and then you've got the Noahide. So then the Noahide laws doesn't make any sense. Well, because it's not a real thing. There's probably elements of reality in that, if you want to go, but that's another story. But so the third temple, there was never a first and a second temple. Like, there's no evidence there was of that. So the whole story of going into the desert, the Exodus, 40 years in the desert, and there's no evidence of anyone dying there, animals being eaten there, no bones, nothing, no campsites, nothing found there, but you're in there for 40 years. It's nonsense. It didn't happen. It's an alchemical story. So that's where people with the biblical beliefs get really annoyed at me. I'm like, but it's a trick. It's storytelling, trickery. I'm not saying you can't believe in these things. You believe in what you want. I'm saying from what I've looked at, none of this seems to be true, and there's no evidence for it to be true. And you can't just, well, you can, but if your argument is it's in the Bible, that's good as me saying it's in the 1996 Argos catalogue. It doesn't make any sense. It's not a thing. It's written by, you don't know who wrote that. You don't know what circumstances they wrote that stuff. And that old god was so evil that they had to write the polarity of that in the Jesus Christ character, the good side of him. So then you've got the polarities and you can play each other off against each other. Now, I believe in the mystery schools, they understand exactly what I'm telling you here, is how to manipulate people. And that's all it is. And I don't know what goes on after death, and I don't know what went on before I was born. Nobody does. And anyone telling you so, I would raise your eyebrows at. That's just my advice. I always have. I can't tell you what we're here for and what we're doing here, but I can tell you how you're manipulated, because it's happened to me. And I've been in the conspiracy world for 20 plus years. I've seen how it functions and what things you can get trapped into. But there is a way of looking at this stuff without getting pulled in and knowing that you're getting pulled into the story. And what they do really well is this narrative is it gives you a character in the story, pulls you in. Like the Pete Hegseth would probably believe that he's playing a biblical role. Donald Trump definitely believes he's playing a biblical role because the story's pulled them in. And now they've done some horrific stuff. They've got to believe that's who they are. They're here for a divine purpose. None of them get up and think they're evil. I don't see how that works. They get up and think they're doing God's work. But that's the story pulled in. And they've shut off their cognitive analytical side to go, how is killing 165 children in Iran in an elementary school God's work? Well, they've got people around them telling them it is. A cult around them telling them it is. And this cult might not even believe it. They might just be greedy, horrible people at their very core. So that's how we got to this, allowing that trauma to build up over thousands of years and then hundreds of years in its latest guise since the late 1700s. It's a trauma bomb. It's a psychological spiral, they call it, over hundreds of years to get to the point we are now, where it's a logical outcome of the illogical fallacies that we've been telling each other is that we'll all go a bit mad. And that's what's happened. But what's great about that is what I'm trying to put forward is a hopeful message, is that actually this insanity makes sense. Let's stop doing insane stuff and then we'll come out of it. So stop putting Donald Trump in a person that clearly should be sectioned in positions of power. Let's stop putting people that have been grew up in boarding schools or were hazed and bullied and they're mentally ill, that put them straight in Parliament afterwards. That's not a logical thing to do. But that's what we've done. And we've normalised insanity. But it doesn't make insanity normal. So we can undo this quite quickly. We've just got to wake up from the spell of not pointing out when the king's got no trousers on. We've got to start pointing that out. All of us on a grand level. Well, not all of us, do what you want, but it would be good.
You've kind of brought it, from all these what you say are stories and smoke and mirrors and kind of a manufactured, mysterious Kabbalah. And so how does that all tie in with what's happening now, with particularly the geopolitics that we're seeing now? Because obviously this has come from that place of I suppose, as we say, people are saying every day, we're living in biblical times. There's a reason for that, because it's the story unfolding. You say this, it's a planned story unfolding. So what is happening with Donald Trump right now? What is happening in the Middle East? What is happening in Ukraine? Why are we at this point? Who are the actors, and what is going on in your view?
So my view, one of the main or the more obvious things to hook yourself into and have a look at is Chabad Lubavitch. Donald Trump has deeply involved with these guys who are these Lurianic Kabbalist Sabbateans, I would say at the top, who believe bringing about Olam Haba, which is their end times narrative, which means building the temple so their Messiah, Moshiach, will come back. Now the Christians believe Jesus will come back, and I believe the Christians are getting used in this at the same time.
Thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the same thing. There's a crossover between the two. And those who are evangelical believe they have to help this happen to bring back Jesus. Those are the Orthodox Jewish faith believe that will bring back the Messiah. So these guys, Benjamin Netanyahu has openly pledged his allegiance to these guys. There's videos everywhere. I've done loads of videos about this sort of stuff, to this Schneerson guy when he was alive. Donald Trump, clearly funded and controlled by Israel, the Israel lobby, Zionism, which is just the political front for this Sabbatean cult. and he's in with Chabad Lubavitch, and Putin has her and Chabad rabbi called Lazar himself. So he would be pushing the other side. Now, Putin may be tricking them. Putin's got some books that were that. Remember, this is a cult, so it might not mean anything to us, but these are sacred books to this Chabad guys, and he's keeping them locked away in a museum in Russia. So he has something over these guys. So I'm not pretending to be able to read his mind. He might be playing them. I don't know.
So sorry, what are these books?
These books are just like writings by Schneerson and old Chabad books.
Oh,
because
by Schneerson.
These guys
Okay.
come from that kind of area, Ukraine, Russia, originally after the Second World War. They
Yeah,
kind of emigrated
yeah.
from there to Brooklyn, New York. So they're all connected. All three of these guys are connected through that cult. And there's articles about there that put this out, and people don't want to look at that because I think it scares them. So this cult, Sabbatean cult, Chabad Lubavitch, they are at the very top of the cult. I think the bottom young guys haven't got a clue. They genuinely believe in it. They are front and centre for this, pushing this messianic agenda through the Middle East. That's why Gaza had to come down. That's why the West Bank had to be taken over. That's why Israel had to be formed in 1917 and 46 when it was started. That's why the temple needs to be built. That's why they need to bring about Armageddon, which happens when those of the Islamic faith believe when Medina is sacked, Armageddon will start. So they're kicking off that as well. That's triangulation between three Abrahamic religions, by the way. So
Yeah.
this is what they're planning on doing. That's why you're seeing what's going out. And underneath that, this is now they can do these things because they have the technology to do so, and they've never had the technology as far as we know in recorded history, to be able to do these things the way they want to do them in terms of having the temple. Now, Chabad Lubavitch talk about building the third temple, and they call it a broadcasting transmitter of their God's message to the world. They say it on their website. I've got it in my book, I'm Immortal, A Death Cult's A Quest for Immortality. They've got it in there. They quote this on their website. I've put videos about this on Ickonic for ages and on my social medias and stuff. They tell you what they want to use it for, which would be the broadcaster of this AI smart grid, global smart tech, which you talk about a lot with 2030. So that's where these two worlds connect. And that's why you've got Elon Musk there funding Donald Trump, Peter Thiel funding Donald Trump, because they're bringing in the tech side, the transhumanist side, for the telepotic shell, that they will live forever in this technological world that they call Lamhabar, this messianic cult, which is the New World Order. So there's two things going on here. There's a religious ideology, and there's the technology to make it happen. And these two worlds are hand in hand now. And you can see that around Trump. He's a main player in it, whether he wants to be or not. So I talk about this in depth in the book.
This is really interesting. Yeah. And it connects up with the whole 2030 agenda. You know, obviously you've got people like Noah Yuval Harari. He's obviously in this cult because he's definitely, you know, dealing with all that. And he talks about the non-biological world. Yep. So I get the feeling that obviously our you know, yours and my worlds are sort of coming together here because, you know, the technology and the technocratic literally dictatorship that we're under has started a long time ago, and we've just got all of this going on, and this total destruction of the nation state, and then from the nation state, you know, you could call it going smaller into the you know, whatever county you're living in say the UK, and then it goes even further into your community that's being destroyed, and then the family that's being destroyed if you go down, boil it down a bit more, and then the self is being destroyed as well. So you know, the whole identity, this is what digital ID is about. It's about destroying the self and creating this digital twin. And the transgender movement is all part of that, because the minute you can take the biology away from the human being, you can morph that into a cyborg, into a sort of transhuman entity. And the metaverse, you know, even further to that, you can get rid of the human being completely and create this if you like, you know, twinning of everything on earth. You know, you can have they're twinning towns, cities, everything, and you have a digital twin. So that all of this is just bonkers mad behavior to get rid of the human, isn't it,
It
really?
is, but it's bonkers and mad if you don't, and it is bonkers and mad. I'm not saying it isn't bonkers.
Yeah.
Clearly it is bonkers and mad, but there is a logic to their madness. And I'm glad you brought up the twin thing, because that's really important as well. You obviously had the twin towers. The twin towers represent the polarities. So they do want to twin you, but what they want to use your digital twin for, think of it as a digital voodoo doll. They can punish your digital twin by not allowing you in these areas, not allowing you to buy certain foods, not allowing you to do certain jobs because your social credit score is too low. They can punish that, which will affect you in the real world. It's a digital voodoo doll. They understand that you will eventually put more emphasis in your digital twin than you will in yourself, because you will rely on that.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, they've trained that with your social credit score, but they've trained it with your birth certificate. That's the whole point. And it's a dead entity. So it's a corporation of you. So they understand these things. So once you start to think like them, you can destruct exactly what they're doing, because it's the same old that's your digital twin, is your digital voodoo doll. They will smash that to bits, and you will be so reliant on that is you now. That is you.
Is it that they literally block? I mean, it's that whole zero trust world they are creating, where you have to authenticate before you do anything. So is it that your real you, your soulful human person, no, I can't say person, can I? It's the wrong word. That you know, the human being that you are, the man or woman, the living man or woman, is denied access, so therefore your digital twin has more power. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. And they can punish that digital twin, so it has more power of you because it has more relevance in the world. So it's kind of an induced disassociation. You'll step back into yourself. And when I was a kid, I grew up in quite a violent household at times. And I remember disassociating, standing in the corner of the room and almost coming out like a CCTV camera out of my body. I mean, not quite out my body, but I think people who have done it, and many people around the world have, will understand what I'm saying. You are kind of protecting yourself by standing back. So it will induce a kind of digital version of disassociation. So when we look at these things, what's great about understanding how they think, they have it on a spiritual level, a psychological level, and a physical level, a material level. So the material level will be your digital avatar. Your psychological level will be what that does to you, knowing you're watched all the time, knowing that actually they can do anything to this voodoo digital doll of you, you'll behave in a certain way. And then what does that do to you on a spiritual level? You disengage. So, you know, a lot of these things are allegorical. A lot of these things are symbolic. A lot of these things, they understand the human psyche and the global psyche of this world. So when people talk about stuck in the matrix, they take it as a very literal, I don't, but God, you know, each their own, literal place of stuck in this matrix. My interpretation of that is that you are not able to live the way you want, express yourself the way you are. Now, we are getting to that point now where that is going to be our children's and our grandchildren's reality. Is that, and I don't mean to an extent of go and do what you want and do what thou wilt, Aleister Crowley. That's the extreme end of the other side. I'm talking about a regulated human person who just wants to do normal things. And this is where we're going with it. So I want to get people to get their mind into how these mentalists think, these lunatics think, because it's very logical. And once you understand it, the trick doesn't work anymore. It's not magical. They haven't got superpowers. They understand how to manipulate you and play you. And you can do the same to them once you understand the tricks. You understand the tricks. So a great version of just an example of how they do these things is that there's a trick in the card trick or the name on the bit of paper in mentalism where they read the name off of them. And how did you guess that name off the back of the paper? You didn't see it. Well, all they do is they put it over a reflective surface, either a glass, either over a mobile phone, and they're looking up there like that, and they just look down and they can see the reverse of the image down there. It's a trick. They haven't got superpower. It's a trick. It's all tricks. It's all smoke and mirrors. They are not a big, organic, massive death cult. They're a bunch of lunatics that know how to use tricks and cheat and scam and they will do it because a lot of them are psychopaths and sociopaths. We wouldn't do those things, but we need to be aware that they will, and don't put them in positions of power.
Join me, Sandi Adams, live at Goffinland, Exeter on the 14th of May, discussing 2030 and beyond, hosted by Emma Dunwell, and music from Trevor John.
So what is, I mean, I'm not asking you for the solution, because I mean, I get really fed up with people to say, well, what's your solution then? The fact is that we are in a mess at the moment. There's no doubt about that. And there's nobody coming to save us. There is no, according to you, there is no one coming to save us. I would like to think there is, but wouldn't that be nice? But, you know, if we look at it in a logical way, you know, that could be not the case. And so you think, well, when we've got all this coming at us, and most of it is by consent, because we've allowed it to happen, because we haven't been aware that we're being duped or whatever, and that everybody thought that the United Nations and the 17 goals are all wonderful. They don't see the inversion of what they really are, and they don't see the inversion of what they will create if we go along with them. And we are going along with them. They're being implemented everywhere. And this technocracy is taking over our world. Is it about giving up these? Is it about not having the devices? But how do we, you know, we've got so reliant on them. So how do we draw away from this plan of theirs? How do we have some kind of kickback?
So the way I see it, and obviously this is just me as a 45-year-old man giving you my opinion, I mean, you can take it for what you want, is that first you said we've allowed it to happen, and we have, but there's no blame in that, because you said because there was no informed consent. There's no informed consent. So what I'm trying to do in my work is inform you of how these people function. Now, what you can do is use this technology, as we're doing now, to change it from within. This technology, like a doorway, works both ways. There's nothing wrong with the technology. Yeah. It's that the information being fed into it largely is junk into you. But that once you become aware of that, you can feed good information into that. Like my books for sale on Amazon. People are, you put it on Amazon. Well, one, I'm self-employed, and you've got to self-publish. But also, I am going to the source to tell you where they are, because you can change it alchemically from putting what comes from you in. It comes from you in. You need to understand it, study it, see how these people operate, and then use it against them. That's the way it always has been. That's the way it will always be. These are bullies. Use their weight against them. They're not bright people. They're used to getting their own way and bullying you. Let them use their weight to destroy themselves. They will do it anyway because they're psychopaths. They want to destroy everything, including themselves, because they don't want to live. They want to live forever, but only in the fear of the God that they hate. So they're choosing to live in fear. Now, when you said about no one coming to save us, now, the way I kind of see it is I don't want anyone to come and save me, because they eventually are beholden to that thing. I don't want to be beholden to anyone, anywhere, anything. I want to be on my own. I want to be I want to work with people. I want to spend time with yourself. I want to chat with people. I don't want to be beholden to anyone, and I don't want anyone to be beholden to me, because I'm not a culture leader. But that's sovereignty. That's self-sovereignty, and it's so powerful. That is the power, and it's only you. So you know, change your little world, do your little bit. You've only maybe got 80, 90 years if you're lucky here and healthy. Do your little bit. Don't freak out. Don't let these people freak you out. They're not. This place should be fun. We got lovely people. 99% of the people that you will meet will be lovely people. Same here. We're all a bit messed up because this is a crazy making place. We don't know where we came from before we were born, and we don't know where we're going when we die. That will make you mad. Of course it will. But we're all in it together. So it's not that bad. Have some sense of humour about it. Find it funny. Yeah. These people are idiots. They're lunatics. They're terrified because that's why they need more and more and more, because they're empty. Just take what you need and be on your way. You don't need to to take on the world, change the world, just do your bit. And I think in conspiracy world, you can get lost in the narrative, lost in the story. I'm going to fight this demon, I'm going to fight that. And then you look back 20 years later and you go, where did my life gone? I was scared for 25 years of it. I don't want to live like that for myself. And that's why I kind of try and back out a little bit from the conspiracy stuff at times, and a lot of times, because I don't think that this is a bad place to be. I don't think this is a bad world. I think we've allowed bad people to do bad things because we haven't had informed consent. They've kept this information for themselves. So the real issue for me is what I'm saying here in the book, what I'm saying here on this podcast. Learn how this place and these people function and become informed, and then decide whether you give your consent or not. That's what to do. Then it can change gradually.
And what's good is the human being is so good at being creative, and that's what they are not in lots of ways. Yeah. They're following their sort of rather technocratic playbook. But we, as humans, have always thought of strategies around things. And I'm absolutely, because people talk about technologies that have been suppressed. I mean, do you talk about that in the book at all? Because I believe that there are technologies that that have been suppressed, which perhaps might actually come forward now. When things get more chaotic.
I don't speak about much in the book, but I agree with you. I do think there are technologies that have been suppressed. Absolutely, I do. Like some of these kind of things in CERN and these things that have been suppressed. I absolutely do. Free energy is obviously the one. But, and the Tesla technology. But the way I look at that one, again, it's just my perspective, is that the free energy that made that technology available and built it was us. We are free energy. Nothing happens on this earth. Like I pick up this cup, I drink it. I was responsible for all of that. No one told me anything. All of that was free energy that came from me. So the creation of these technologies are a outward materialistic version, a miracle, a magical making of the architect that we all are. I'm not talking about on a Freemasonic level, by the way. We are making these things happen. That's how powerful we are. And that's amazing. But what these technologies do, I think, there are an outreach of someone like Tesla, who was a genius who wanted to make the world better for his technology. But what these technologies do for these guys is they allow them to do things that we can do already. We are the free energy. They're ciphering off our ideas, our concepts, our imagination. Nothing comes from them because they're atrophied from that kind of ability to make these things happen, whether psychologically or even through their genetics, inbreeding. They can't do these things. So when you have the concept of the archons in the Gnostic concept, some people believe archons are real. I take it as an analogy of not being able to be creative and make things happen. You just have to siphon off other people, leech off them, like these black nobility blood class do. It's all coming from us. It's all coming from us. We are free energy. So whatever you creatively want to make, you see a problem in the world, you want to fix it. How does that happen? You have the idea first. It's all Plato. It's all the Kabbalah. It's all coming down from the top. The idea, the concept, you tap into somewhere, whatever you want to call it, and you have an idea and you have your imagination. Then you go about trying to figure out and work out how to make it happen. And then you go about in the world trying to find physical materials to actually make it happen. And then you sell that issue to someone else. They pay you for your ingenuity and your time, and it solves a problem in their world. This is just what they're trying to reverse. They're reversing it because they're not tapped into it and they're too lazy.
Yeah.
It's easier to make me and you do it and pay us very little money because they've been born into these families where they can't do anything. They can't do anything themselves. You've got Putin, this is true, Putin goes around with a guy that carries his poo around, literally in a Putin, with him to check it because he thinks he's going to get assassinated. What a weird life to lead. What a strange life you've got.
Does he really? That's
he genuinely does, yeah.
I wish
Google
you
it, guys.
told me that.
Put Vladimir Putin in the
that.
internet. Gareth Ike told me that as well. That's a Gareth
Putin's
Ike one.
Putin.
Yeah, it is. Putin's got a Putin.
That must be a joke. That must be a joke.
I actually genuinely
believe
don't think that is, but there you go. This is a Gareth Ike one. Go and speak to Gareth about that one. But
I'll
also
have to
you've got the
talk to
Queen.
Gareth about that one.
They've got the Queen walking around. She's got a master of wardrobes carrying a bloody closet around with all her clothes in. I mean, come on, these people can't even wipe their own bum. They're not.
Well, there is a master. There was a master of the stool, wasn't there? There was
Yes.
one of them is called Master of the Stool, and he wipes the monarch's bottom. I did read that, and that was from somebody that had actually studied all the royal families.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I believe that person probably still exists. So very, very odd lot, aren't they?
What
really?
a job to have. You think you grow up, you go to university, and you go, I've made it, I've wiping the Queen's. That is the job that you've been given. You go, hang on a minute, this isn't, I don't care if you're the Queen. I'm not doing that. That's disgusting. Do it yourself. Like, where does human beings get so low in their own self-worth that they'll do that? Like, it's just absurd to me.
Yeah, but they're very entitled people who, yeah.
But they're only entitled because someone will wipe their bum for them. They can't be entitled.
Yeah.
Someone does it.
What do you think the future is? I mean, we've got this awful monarch at the moment. I mean, what do you think's going on there?
Oh, I think it's hilarious, if I'm honest. I think the future is hilarious.
Well, he's up to his eyes. He's up to his eyes in the agenda. I mean, he was there at the Earth Summit and on Royal Yacht Britannia, and he's been in with all of the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, and he actually started all the public-private partnerships with his Prince of Wales Business Forum in the 1990s.
Okay. Didn't know that.
And he was well into it before the Earth Summit. In 1991, he held a conference in Rio de Janeiro where they held the Earth Summit. And he was in the Royal Yacht Britannia entertaining all these big globalists. So he kind of, he was really with all that. He's in the agenda without a doubt. And he's the green, he's the whole thing with sustainability, and he's making fortunes on the whole carbon racket.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got to go.
Yeah, he's got to go, but
point.
they'll replace him with another one. And he's one of the lower down families within those Black nobility bloodlines. But they've got the sigil of Saturn on their Balmoral Castle. I've been to Balmoral Castle and went round the pyramid at the back. It's bloody weird. They're a satanic family. Of course they are. They've got the sigil of Saturn on their main castle. So
tell me more about the pyramid and so I didn't put Bal. Actually, Bal is Baal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Baal.
That's interesting. It's Balmoral.
Yeah, the morals of Baal. Yeah, they are a satanic cult. They're part of the satanic family, and I'm not even saying that they want to be. They were born into it. Look what happened to Diana. Look what happened to. I mean, you got Kate Middleton wearing the Rosemary's Baby dress, for God's sake, and all of that transhumanist weirdness.
That was,
but it is weird. But it's not weird if you understand who they are. And Crowley wrote the Moonchild, and this transhumanist body that they're making for this Antichrist is the homunculus. So that all fits into it. But there's a massive, I think it was George, her husband, wasn't it? When he died, she just wore black for ages. There's a massive stone pyramid in the woods in Balmoral. And I went there and I filmed with Gaz there and a few other people. We filmed some shows years ago, just doing some comedy stuff. Well, actually, we're doing a show called The Walk, which you can see on Ickonic.com, but we did a comedy skit that we were in Scotland, so we went to the castle, and it's not in the grounds in the terms of the locked off grounds, so you could go to it. And we went right up to it and filmed. There is no way the Queen walked up that hill. No way. There's a tunnel into that place. So my kind of theory is that what you're seeing there is possibly the top of an obelisk, not an actual triangle. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but there's no way she walked up that bloody thing to get in there. There was no door anyway to go in it. There's a tunnel leading up into whatever goes on button in that stone pyramid there. And I've seen these stone pyramids in other places in Norfolk, because I live in Norfolk in England. There are quite a lot of them around here. It's not far from Sandringham and all these places. And there's stone pyramids in the grounds of these big old stately homes. And they look very ominous, and I would say there was weird stuff going in under them. I think they're an entrance like Epstein's little weird thing, which is basically that's actually based on a Turkish bath in Turkey that Sabbateans used to go to, by the way. The whole look of that is a Sabbatean hotspot that was in the 1600s.
What's the gold domed thing? That sort of stripy thing.
If you look at it, there's a place. If you guys listening, put Jeffrey Epstein, whatever you call it, temple, and then put Turkey Sabbatean, and you'll find it. It's a complete carbon copy of this Sabbatean Frankist where they used to meet in the 1600s. So he was a Sabbatean Frankist too, in my opinion. He was he was born in Seagate, not far from which is a gated community, which is literally right near the Chabad Lubavitch guys in Brooklyn. There's a big Chabad community in Seagate itself. That's not far, literally across the bridge to where the Monarch programming was done on Long Island. There's weird stuff going on. This is all transhumanism. So you've got this transhumanism where changing the human body biologically, and then you've got the technology side that is 2080, this is transhumanism, this is Elon Musk and that side. And then you've got the ideology of this messianic agenda. And they all fit in. So that's the whole cult that I write about in the book. And they function out of Washington, D.C. with the military industrial complex, the Navy, the mind control. You've got the religious side in the Vatican, and you've got the money and the finance through the City of London and the Freemasonry and all of this stuff. Temple, the Middle Temple. So that's the cult. I call it the Triple Crown cult. Some people believe it goes off planet into different, I believe that some of them believe they're talking to demons and devils. I don't believe it themselves until I believe that they are mental. But it doesn't matter whether they do or not.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that there's nasty forces. I do believe there is, and I believe in demons. But it's good. It's okay to differ. But the thing is that they're doing what they're doing is that they're harming children.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
There's a lot of trafficking going on.
Yeah.
And that is a reality, isn't it? I mean, that is. I mean, what? And do you believe in the whole adrenochrome thing? And
I know I believe they believe it and do it, but I don't believe. Like in terms they're talking to demons through portals and stuff, but I believe they are, and it doesn't really matter whether they are or they're not, because the effect on the world and children and us is the same.
Yes, I get
so
that.
I don't want to sit you can have that discussion forever. I mean, if one day I ever see it, God forbid I ever do, then I'd change my mind straight away. But it doesn't matter whether they do or they don't. They believe it and they react to these things. They certainly do satanic rituals. They certainly have symbology, the sigil of Saturn everywhere. Yeah. They certainly abuse children, traffic children. They certainly do drink blood. They do all of this demonic stuff. They have all these connections to Vlad the Impaler. All that stuff is true. And I write about it in the book. But there is one point of it being true to them and them doing it, thinking they're contacting demonic entities, or they're having psychotic breaks, or they actually are contacting demonic entities. I can't tell you the truth, and I try not to sort of fill in the gap there, because I've luckily never been there. But I could be totally wrong. But it doesn't matter when it comes down to how it affects us.
But it doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. To be honest, it's probably somewhere in between. To be honest, there's always a truth somewhere.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to read your book now. You've really whetted my appetite. I can't wait, because I mean, a lot of it is really stuff that I've been looking at anyway. And, certainly the whole Chabad Lubavitch thing. I mean, I even joined their website, their newsletter, and reading about the Noahide laws and how they're going to get all the religions arguing. And in fact, it's an excuse to behead people and all sorts of horrible stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's horrific.
So I just... It's horrific, and when you look at it, it's just like the 17 goals and all the other stuff that they present you with. It's all sugar coated. You look at those the 7 Noahide laws; they look lovely, and of course they've got the rainbow symbology, which has been used in a really weird satanic way with the NHS and the gay pride and all that weird stuff all woven together. So there's so much to that I really resonate with everything that you've said. And where can we find you? We find your book on Amazon. It's called I Am Immortal.
Yep. I Am Immortal, A Death Cult's Quest for Immortality. It's on Amazon. You can get the paper book and the ebook. And I'm going to record the audio book, so you'll have a nice 6 hours of listening to the Norfolk accent. So I'll do it myself. It's just I've got 2 little boys running around, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So they just scream a lot. So it's really hard. I'm going to have to go.
Oh, that's so lovely.
It's lovely, but they're very loud and very vocal. So I'm going to try and do that. But if you could follow the book from there, or head over to Patreon and put Richard Willett in. And
you're obviously still presenting with Ickonic.
Yes, I am.
As well.
Yep, I do 4 shows a week at the moment on Ickonic, so I'm very busy. I do Psychobabble on a Monday, which is looking at the links between criminology, crime, true crime, and conspiracy. where they kind of separate the occult. I'm trying to attach the occult to true crimes because there's usually a lot of occultism going on, and they miss that out in the investigations, so they don't get the full picture. So that's really interesting. It's all psychology. I do Classified, which is my mainstream, like my main conspiracy show, and I do Focus, which is a viewer show. So they tell me what to look into. I give them 3 options each week, and I go away and research it. And I do What If, which is more of a comedy conspiracy show with Gaz that goes out at the weekend. So I'm really busy with them as well. And then obviously doing all the promotion for them and writing on my Substack. I've got Substack, so you can head over to there and put Some Make Inspired. I'll try and do an article a week on there with all this research in it. So I keep busy, but I love this stuff, and I'm so fortunate to get to do this for a living. So I'm very, very grateful.
That's incredible. When did you get to be a dad? You're a dad as well. I don't know where you fit it all in, but you're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on 2030 and Beyond with Sandi Adams. It's been an absolute joy, and I really want to read your book. I'll get you to sign it when I get it.
Absolutely.
And somehow we'll meet up, or I'll send it back to you to sign. But it's been a really fantastic conversation, and so much there. And I absolutely resonate with an awful lot of it. And thank you. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me and giving me your platform. And when you read it, remember that they're idiots, they're lunatics, and they're not all powerful magicians. They are the wizard behind the curtain. They are terrified of you finding this stuff out. They don't want you to know how powerful you are. And I mean that on an actual psychological, practical level. So that's what it's about. And, I just want you to realise that they're idiots. Don't be afraid of them.
Thank you. And best of luck with the book and everything else you're doing. Thank you so much, Rich. Bye-bye.
Bye.